concrete. Good, buddy. One more hole.
Well, sorry I didn't get all this on video. The battery died and I didn't feel like going in and getting another one, and I was in a hurry trying to get this thing kind of wrapped up. But I'll take you for a little walk around. This is my homemade uh, mount for this array. It turned out okay. A couple things I would have done different right off the bat here is you can see this is fairly low to the ground. I had a total brain lapse in how I was making the mount. I meant to mount it up about another foot higher and miscalculated. But this will be okay. I'll just have to be a little more careful with snow. I may come in here with the tractor and dig that out a little bit in front of it so it doesn't build up quite so quick. The far end of it, because it is on a hillside, is fine. But this end down here is, only maybe 8 inches off the ground. So that's something I'm going to have to be a little aware of in the winter. By the way, how do you like my job box here? I was not planning on buying this right away. I've been kind of wanting one because it's just nice to have around when you're working around the place here. You can throw all your tools in, take it out with the tractor, and set it down and do your thing. But with the little Nissan Pathfinder breaking down on us right before we were going on vacation, I mean like 2 days before we were going to leave, the thing quit running. And I was like, well, I could find a canopy for my pickup and take it and do it that way. And then I looked around on Craigslist. I didn't want to buy a new one. Things are stupid expensive for those pickups, like $1,500 and up. And I couldn't find any used ones. So I thought, well, what about one of those job boxes? We'll just throw it in the back, put a cable around it, tight, and lock it down so people just can't walk away with it. And throw all our luggage in there, and it'll stay out of the weather because we went to the Oregon coast, and 9 times out of 10 you go to the Oregon coast, you're going to get rained on. So I decided to get this little job box, and now I can use it around the place. The thing worked great. The only thing I'm not super fond of is this locking setup. Looks like a great idea. You just use regular paddle locks in there, and nobody can get in there with cutters. but it's real particular on what size of padlock. As you can see, the catch there just goes down, and when you lock the lock, the actual padlock part itself, the locking mechanism sits right there and keeps it shut. Well, it says in the instructions these are supposed to be 7/8 to 1 inch when they're closed. Well, I got 7/8. That's the only thing I could find. And they won't lock quite right. You have to really fiddle with them to get them to lock. One of these days I'm going to find an actual 1 inch distance when this is closed, and maybe it'll be better. Right now I got little wedges shoved in there to give it enough space to where to lock. But other than that, the thing works great. It works great out here. I used it on this project and no complaints so far other than those goofy locks. But let's walk around this this mount for this array. And I just used a lot of stuff I had laying around, like these pipes. Those are 2.5 inch Schedule 40 pipes. They're down about 3 feet in the ground with some concrete around them. I may, since we have so much wind out here, I may put a cable from here down to some anchors just to guide that down a little bit. Just, you know, this is a huge wind sail sitting out here, and I would not like to wake up after a 40-mile-an-hour wind at night and find this thing laying over on its face. So I may put some anchors down. Man, walked into the electric fence. Ouch. I just used steel. That's one thing I would not do again. I was in a hurry and I didn't want to go over to the closest place to pick up the rail. The aluminum rail is over in Boise, Idaho, a couple hours away. So I decided I'll just use steel, and I won't do that again. It's nice to be able to just weld the stuff up instead of bolting everything together, but when you do this, if you use steel, you really can't trust it for a good ground between each panel and ground. So now I'm going to have to put little straps in between the panels to make sure they're grounded. And then, you know, I'm not even sure I'm going to worry about painting this, because it'll rust some, but around here it's not like the Oregon coast or somewhere else where it's really humid and rust real bad. So I just may leave it, or I may get the gumption up one of these days to cold galvanize it. I'm not sure, but that's pretty much it. And I put some bracing in, helped sturdy it up a little bit. I pushed on it pretty hard. It doesn't really move, but that's kind of the array mount. And building on a hillside like this, you know, it's not much of a slope, but it's enough that it causes you a little more headache figuring up angles and stuff. The one area that I goofed on, I don't know why I did this. There was some reason in my head when I started, but I set these middle set that way about, I don't know, 3 inches more than the outside. I'm not sure why I did. I had something in mind. Then when I went to assemble, I'm like, why did I do this? So that really caused a headache trying to figure out what height to cut that off at, since it's 3 inches inset from those. So I kind of had to just kind of lay it out and figure it up by just laying all the steel in place, and then figure, okay, I'm going to cut it here. And had to weld this all with the gasless welding wire, the flux wire, and I hate that stuff. It just splatters everywhere, and I don't do the best welding with that stuff. So the welds are okay, but it'll stay together. You can tell there's two different, they're the same brand of panels. I think they're Trina panels. The labels were pulled off because these are used panels. So when the company I buy them from gets them, they pull the manufacturer labels off and put their own on, but then they give you the spec sheets, and they're Trina spec sheets. So but these ones are black framed, the other ones are just straight aluminum frames. They're slightly different size, not much of a difference, just slightly different. But yeah, I wound up needing a few more panels. There's 12 in this array, and then 12 on the other array that you've seen in an earlier video. And so altogether we'll have 24 of these 250 or 245, whatever they are, watt panels. So should be a good improvement. Well, that's going to kind of wrap this video up. On the next video, we're going to go through pulling the wiring in for this thing. I've got about 140, 150 foot run. I need to pull some wire through with a couple junctions in the middle, and I'll kind of go through step by step how I do that. I'm going to do it the easy way this time. If you saw the video before, I used a fish tape on those short runs, and the only reason I did that is I was working with that stupid 1/2-inch conduit, and I knew I was going to have to pull pretty hard. And a lot of times the pull string I like to use, you would probably wind up, go away fly, you'd probably wind up breaking that pull string, because I think it's only rated for like 200 pounds or so. And if you use a bigger one, then you're just pulling a bigger wad through that little 1/2-inch conduit. So I tried to use that stupid fish tape, which I hate using that stuff. So anyway, the next video we're going to kind of go through the easy way to get this wire through this conduit and junction boxes. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys on the next video.